It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
We are lighting the candle, and I'm Bill Correll. I am so pleased to be here this week. It was like 4 degrees this morning at my home when I woke up today. It's a balmy 26 degrees right now, and I think I'm going to go out for some sunbathing in just a short period of time. So as usual, I am here with my cohort, partner in crime, bestie, and twin, Jan Jeremias. So pleased to have you, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good, Bill. Glad to be here. It was warmer where I was. It was 9 degrees this morning. So I think you need to move closer to me because it's balmier where I live.
Yeah, Connecticut is that big that we can have a couple of degree temperature. So it's really very small, Wendy, if you don't know, the New England geography. Oh, by the way, let me introduce you to my newfound friend, world gallivanter, Wendy Corner. And I can't wait to hear more about you. She's got a lovely smile. And as I understand it, you're in Puerto Vallarta right at the moment?
Correct, yes.
You bum-et.
Well, you're talking about temperatures. Forgive me, I don't think in Fahrenheit, but it's 29 degrees centigrade here right now.
It's about 83, I think.
It's nice and warm. It's cozy, which is why I'm a little on the wet side. Forgive me.
No worries. Good for you. That's fantastic. So we'll give you the 30-second intro, Wendy. Our guests are used to hearing us cover the beach. I mean, literally going anywhere for any type of simile or metaphor or just anything that we come up with in terms of sharing our own experiences, what we've heard, and then what we make up on the spot, okay? With regard to empowerment and, getting yourself going again after you've been a little bit stopped. And in many cases, we are talking about one thing in one moment, and then 5 minutes later, we don't remember what we were talking about. So we're just having a good time wherever we end up. Those are the rules of the game. Are you good with that?
Oh, absolutely. I have a butterfly brain just the same.
I love it. I really do. Hence the 40,000 miles of travel for you this year, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Good. So let's just say that none of us have been to Puerto Vallarta before. I haven't. I've been to a half a dozen other cities in Mexico, but not that coast. So what would you have to recommend to us in terms of getting there, getting yourself grounded, and then really kind of finding your center?
Getting here, there are some direct flights from the US. There are some direct flights from Canada. I fell foul, if you want a quick little detour, I fell foul of the ESTA regulations. I was coming from Melbourne to Sydney to LAX, and then LAX straight down to Puerto Vallarta.
Yep.
And then a very astute lady at the check-in desk in Sydney, did a little bit of maths, and discovered that I was going to be in Puerto Vallarta for 4 months, which is outside the ESTA regulations. So if you're clueless as to what ESTA is, for those of us who don't live in North America, you have to have an electronic visa to enter America. I had the princely sum of $21 for 3 hours in LAX airport. I was not going out of the airport, but because I landed on US soil, I have to abide by US visa regulations.
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores, making the switches easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.
And the US have decided, in their wisdom, and make no further comment, that their rules apply to Canada, Mexico, and half the Caribbean, even although they are sovereign nations. So I was not allowed on the flight to LAX until I could prove that I was leaving Mexico within 3 months. So I had a 24-hour extra stay in Sydney while I found somewhere to go to within the 3 months. And I'd run out of data on my phone and I wasn't going to pay a whole lot more for one day. The Wi-Fi in Sydney Airport was a little on the wobbly side. So I've got somebody in Canada and somebody in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, looking for somewhere for me to go to, which is close enough by, outside the ESTA block, and somewhere safe for a solo female traveller.
What did you come up with?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica is beautiful.
Well, I was in their hands. To be honest, I thought Costa Rica was one of the Caribbean islands. Shows you how good my geography is. That's obviously Puerto Rico. Because I was thinking, well, how come they haven't laid claim to that one as well? So I booked in flight, didn't know where it was. And about a couple of weeks into my stay here, I suddenly thought, I better find out where it is. Looked on the map and went, oh, that's where it is. Should we go and find somewhere to stay?
Yeah.
So that was actually the tale of me arriving here. So I didn't get the most direct route. But there are direct flights from places in the US, places in Canada, straight to PV, as it's known. Lovely place, expat central. There is a tourist town close to the beach, which is full of condos and everyone's into sort of Airbnb. I live further inland, and this is very definitely Spanish area. So my Spanglish is improving dramatically.
Do you have a goal to acquire X number of words per day sort of thing, or are you just...
No, I'm very naughty, but Google Translate is, I'm afraid, a bit of a crutch. So,
if I had to go through some parts of Europe or even just Australia, I would probably exist on Babbel.
Yes.
When the Aussies start going, it takes a minute. They're like Scotsmen, really.
Well, having lived 20 years in the northeast of Scotland, I can tell you absolutely right on that one, particularly if you end up in Glasgow.
Yeah, and they go.
Yeah.
I remember. English over here. Well, that's what I've been speaking, you mate.
Right. No, I remember getting on the underground. I was in Glasgow. I've been to Glasgow and Edinburgh and a few other places,
Sweet.
more than once. And I was in Glasgow sitting on the underground thinking to myself, I
On the
know they're-
Clockwork Orange.
yeah. And I thought to myself, I know they're speaking English, but I don't understand a word they're saying. And then when I was in graduate school in London, I had like two professors who were from Scotland. And one of them was very challenging to understand, very hard to understand. And I once said to her, does it bother you? And she said, well, every now and then I look around the classroom and I realize that everybody has a dazed look on their face and they probably haven't understood a word I've said.
Well, it's like every other class, except for there's an upfront excuse that's right there for you.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have noticed then, Jan, that Edinburgh is a much gentler, calmer accent.
Yes, it is.
And if you then go to the West Coast, I mean, Glasgow is in a dialect in and of itself. But if you go further up the West Coast, the accent is very gentle. And if you go to the Northern Isles, they sound completely different. You really genuinely do wonder whether it's English because the vowels have shifted so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I would love it. It wouldn't be all that much of a problem for me. I love just smiling at people and having them smile back.
Yes, absolutely. But it's when you throw the dialectal words in that it really gets you. I mean, the accent, the vowel shift is one thing, but when you throw the dialectal words in as well, that's when it can get fun. And even, I mean, when I first went to Australia, can I share a little embarrassing story?
Well, you've started. You can't leave us hanging.
Lost in translation. I go to my first networking meeting wearing a rather nice jacket and trousers. Okay, just hold that thought. And somebody complimented me on my pants. Well, I got very embarrassed, went bright red, excused myself and went to the ladies because in the UK, pants are what you wear next to your skin. I thought she was euphemistically saying my thighs were undone.
And they could see your fanny.
Now that has a different connotation completely.
I know. I'm an Anglophile, so
okay. So you know exactly what you were doing there. Yeah. So anyway, I went up to the ladies and sort of went, fine, nothing's wrong there. Sort of composed myself, went back into the room, and this Australian lady who knew I was fresh off the boat went, she was talking about your trousers, don't you? So I get up, go bright red, thinking, well, why didn't I know that? If I'd been to America, I would have known that pants were trousers. I did not know that in Australia there are also pants.
Well, see, that's such a perfect story. Simply because you've had, I don't know, in 5 minutes, at least a dozen different opportunities to be completely disempowered if you were, And the neat part of it is, in each one of those, you've built yourself a nice little bridge back to being semi-sane again. But I can't even imagine what it was like for you to kind of like look around the room for a minute and then head off to the ladies' room.
Yes, there was very little looking around the room. It was just a case of quick, out of here. Bright red. I do go red very quickly and very easily, just to warn you.
So where's your place of birth, if you don't mind?
Just north of London, a place called Hertford.
Hertford, yes.
Yes.
I know of it.
Pygmalion, if you know Pygmalion, in Hertford, Hereford and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen.
Right.
He just had a way with words, didn't he?
Perfect.
Get thee hence. All right for you, Olivia, Anyway, so Wendy, it is a pleasure to meet you. And thank you for being the embodiment of empowerment. It's clear to me that people can't hang around for you for more than a few minutes without really being delighted. And so let's start this off, kind of from your end, and then maybe you can toss out a question for us because we do this every week. And Jan and I kind of have our own rhythm and cadence, and we kind of ping off of each other. But since you're the guest this week, and you've traveled more probably in the last 5 or 6 months than I have in the last 5 or 6 years, I would just love to hear what it's been like for you, and I'd like to hear any questions that you have about us, the podcast, what it's like to be in this continental U.S. where we cover all of the areas and get paid every time somebody comes and goes.
Yes.
Not an accident.
Oh no, absolutely. I have found it fun to reflect on. I've been through on Esther's on 2 different occasions now, and under different presidents. So the first one was under Obama, where the questions they ask you if you're coming to get yourself involved in terrorism. And I'm looking at it and going, they actually ask you that.
I'm a freelancer, I'm leaving that open.
And then they asked, then there was, are you coming to involve yourself in drugs? I went, no. And then there was moral turpitude, which I had a bit of a chuckle to and referred back to the good old Oxford English Dictionary at the time. I went, okay, moral turpitude. No, I'm boring. The next time I came through was under Trump. Moral turpitude was out. And in was, have you been to any of the following Islamic countries in the last 6 months? I had a bit of a chuckle as I was reflecting on this, because as I was coming down the escalator at Heathrow Airport to get my flight to the US, there on the big screens was Donald being announced that he was being investigated for his dalliances, shall we say.
Maybe.
So this was the moral turpitude was out, and I thought, really? Is that interesting?
So what's really interesting to me is, I bet you if
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores, making the switch as easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.
What you filled out this time was yet a different president.
It was.
And what were the questions like on this questionnaire?
They hadn't changed. They were still with the Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, they've become very interesting to the United States for many, many reasons.
Yes.
But especially in 2016, 2017, we had maybe 20 or 30 different situations that came up around our country that had Middle Easterners involved with it, especially Syrians and Afghanis. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that aside, the State Department knows why they do things. I don't think anybody else really has that
no,
if you will. But if you think about it for a moment, asking you to do certain things, this is a voluntary kind of a thing. If you want to fly on the airlines and not tell them that you're actually going to be here illegally, at the moment, if they'll give you a pass to fly anywhere you want to fly. If you just let them know that I'm here for asylum. You didn't think of that, did you?
I did not. Because the thing was that if I'd arrived, I was told by the lady in Sydney that if I had landed at LAX without showing that I was moving on, they would have sent me on the next plane back to Australia.
Yikes.
At my own expense, and have put a black mark against my name so that I would not have been able to come back into the US.
Mm-hmm.
Bless your lucky stars, huh?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I just want to say, but like, it's not even like those types of forms. It always makes me laugh when you fill out other forms. It's like they ask you like these questions where, like, I mean, personally, I don't know who answers them honestly. I mean, I'm not saying that people are dishonest in these forms, but I mean, the likelihood that are you going to admit that you're a terrorist? I mean,
Exactly.
and so it's like when they tell you, like, do you suffer from depression or do you have anxiety or do you like, how, like, all these questions, like who
Mm,
really says what they're feeling or what's going on with them, because they're like, if it's a job application, they want the job.
yes.
So it always makes me laugh. I chuckle because I'm like, does anybody really answer these questions
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
fear of whatever, whether it be like you
What are
heard,
the ramifications?
deportation or lack of entry into a country
Yes.
or whatever. I don't really know that, I don't know what you do, but it's kind of like, I don't really know how many people really look at this and say, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say everything that's true for this.
It's an
So,
interesting thought.
you just triggered a memory that I had that I've forgotten about. I finally
Yeah.
have gotten over it, as a matter of fact. It's no longer hanging there as this big specter. But
You
when I
sure
went,
you want to revisit?
I'm not going in alone. Let's hold hands here, okay? And
Okay.
if I get scared, you yank me
We've
back
got
out.
you.
Okay,
We've
thank
got
you.
you.
Glad you're here, Wendy. Jan is great, but yeah, there are some times probably where she just leave me in there for a minute or two, getting even with me was for something I said last week. But the point is that when I went into the hospital um, 2 years ago for something, I don't remember what it was. It was a 4-page, um, almost like a mental proctology visit, and some of the questions got really deep into sexual orientation, how frequently I'd had a coupling, do I have fear of falling? I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I walked into into my physical or whatever it was at the time. I handed it to the charge nurse, and I basically said, "I'm not going to answer this shit. Are you kidding me? This ain't none of your business, okay?" And by the way, why would anybody with a straight face answer these questions the way that you have them worded? What is this all about? And she said, "Don't worry about it." And I said, "Okay, good. At least I'm going to get service here, and you guys won't put anything in my body that I don't ask for, right? Or agree to." And she goes, "Yeah, no." I said, "We're cool then." It's kind of the way it always has been, but we're owned by new people now, and they're very interested in some particular kind of.
Um,
Yes.
so who are they owned by, and what are the drugs that they are producing on the side? Would be my question.
Yeah. Mine too, Wendy.
So we're coming out of a darkness, okay? In my opinion, it's put a kind of a pall on how we deal with each other because of the way major corporations and governments have been dealing with each other for the last 8 or 10 years.
Mhm.
And the whole notion of DPI and ESG and some other things, a lot of three-letter acronyms that basically talk about how people will behave. Exactly. They're intended to go over your and my head, but they're about having governments and organizations train people in a certain set of beliefs. So
Okay.
you follow me?
Yeah.
We're on the same page now, and
Yes.
there's a real big pushback all over the United States, especially in the UK and Europe right now. We're done with it. We've had enough. And quite frankly, there's some of this that came through as kind of a neat idea, good idea. Let's give it a shot. I mean, if it's for people, I'm for that. Until you start come looking for me because of something that I said on social media or some other thing that you got access to by my
Mhm.
inadvertently giving you permission. So all of that stuff has to do with the government and mostly big money lending, giving rules of the road to folks who borrow money, like major medical institutions. And
Mhm.
we're getting down to the point where there's probably 20 or 30 conglomerates, and each one of them own all the hospitals in a regional area. So this has all been distilled down to the government and these people who deliver the medication, and they've got their own thing going on, and all we are is the delivery mechanism. we require services, and that's where they get paid. And other than that, we're not all that important to the process. But please move aside. Here's another one right behind you. Just keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with all of that in mind, that's the best answer I have for you in terms of where did that come from. We can get into some real deep woods here, but I think pardon me?
I said, I'm sure we could.
Oh,
let's stay out of the.
But I think actually, Bill, in the other place it started like in the 50s, at least in the US, with at least as far as mental illness, that's when it started, with the breakdown of and I'm not saying they shouldn't have broken down, with the breakdown of the mental asylums and the kind of distribution and classification of mental illness in this country. And so all of a sudden they started with the DSM, and that was originally a private thing. And that wasn't meant to be, not saying that it should, but it wasn't meant to be public. And that was a real classification of things and of, series of diagnoses or whatever, or symptoms. The issue is that those symptoms are applicable to everything, and that kind of was the breakdown. I think almost like we're going to categorize this or try to categorize something that's very almost in category. Well, that's not a word, but it can't really be classified to that like much of a detail. And we're going to try to do it. And so all of a sudden you have a lot of things that have come up based on those series of, they've almost tried to classify it too much and try to point it too much, that there's no space and there's no room for people just having having a day that's depressed without feeling like they have some sort of mental illness or there's something drastically wrong. And I think that happened in a lot of other medical fields, but I think it was I think it pretty much began there, or that's one of the places it began.
So that's interesting, Jan. I did not know that it was designed originally to have been kept in-house, as it were, because I worked under the DSM 3 and then 4 when it came out. Bill, my background is in speech pathology.
Nice.
And I worked with adults with intellectual disability with or without autism. So that's where the DSM really came in, because when I think it was under DSM 5, they took out Asperger's but put in and just had the entire spectrum as autistic spectrum disorder. There was such a pushback by the people who were Asperger's because they didn't want to be associated with having autism spectrum disorder, even although it's one end of the spectrum. They wanted their own rights to be called people with Asperger's.
Well, see, here's the thing. It's like when you have an animal and you name it, it's no longer an animal for food. It's now a pet. Okay.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with people's, colonialism and tribalism and what their language, like we're talking about the colloquialisms of the Scots or the Aussies, and don't ever call them Aussies. They hate that. It's Aussie, okay? With
Oi,
Z.
oi, oi.
Oi, 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 yes. So when you think about it from the standpoint of these are just people walking around the world and they're nothing until they get named. And people who have degrees have to name things. That's how they leave their mark in the sand, The sand doesn't remember for very long because people come back by, mush it over, put a new word in there for that, right? There is nothing called autism. There is nothing called Asperger's. There is nothing called spectrum. These are things that are descriptions of stuff we have no idea what it is, so let's call it that. And
sorry, forgive me butting in. The thing about the autism spectrum is we're all on it.
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Got great ideas, but no idea how to build a website? Get Bluehost. Their AI design tool creates high-quality WordPress sites super fast. Whether you're a blogger, influencer, or launching a side hustle, Bluehost helps boost your growth with built-in marketing and e-commerce tools. Upgrade to cloud to get 100% uptime and 24/7 security to stay online all the time. Why wait? You've got the vision. Make it real. Visit Bluehost.com to get started.
Yeah, we are.
We're all on it. It just depends on how much it impacts your daily life as to where you lie on the spectrum.
But people don't look at it that way, do they, Wendy? They look at it like those poor souls over there, right? No, you and I are on it. And quite frankly, knowing that we're on it, there's power in that, you know? It means that we're more like each other as opposed to less like each other. And if we choose to look at it from that standpoint, we don't see autism. We just see a friend who has a moment that they need something.
Yeah. Their brain is wired slightly different to mine, but who's to say that neurotypical is actually typical?
Right.
We're all neurodivergent. We've all got our individual wiring.
Wasn't that one of the fundamental premises of Sigmund Freud? Who's to say what normal is?
Yes.
You know, we have abnormal psychology. He said, well, he says that covers all of humanity.
Yes. Because I certainly don't claim to be normal.
No, I hope not.
Quirky. I'm happy with quirky. Normal? No.
That would just plain be boring, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Holly, go lightly for me, right? It's hard for me to be, Audrey Hepburn, but I think Wendy, you or Miss Janet or Jan could pull that off in a heartbeat. So here we are. We're having a ball, talking about a lot of things that are completely disjointed. However, it's really obvious the three of us have got some game, We all make our money, and probably get our lives out of working with other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you're in speech therapy, and I really was. Oh,
no
so
longer.
You're not well. Okay, I don't know that you'll ever be out of it because your mind's trained, and all of your thinking is going to be given by your training and your experiences over the last sort of 5 or 10 years.
Oh, bless you. Slightly longer than that. Yes.
So it's like the people who say, I used to be an airline pilot. No, you're always going to be an airline pilot. You've got other skills you've got too. So it's okay if you just kind of bring them along with you in a satchel. This is where you go to, when you come into a situation, you're not quite sure what to do. You're not going to make up a whole new experience and a whole new set of rules. Like, I just walked into this room. Now what do I do? No, You walk in with the charisma and the chutzpah of somebody who's done the things that you've done.
Thank you. Usually the way I say it to people is I'm no longer registered.
Yes.
So anything I offer you from a clinical perspective, my clinical background, please note that I am no longer registered. Things have moved on dramatically in the last 10 years in terms of therapy, even although people themselves probably haven't.
Yeah. I have a dear friend who's about 85 years old, and he describes himself as a recovering antitrust lawyer. He was involved with the AT&T breakup and about a dozen other, front page antitrust suits in Washington, D.C. over the years. And then he became an Episcopal priest at the end of his days. So he actually retired from not one, not two, but 3 different careers because he was also a professor of law at Georgetown University as well.
Well, I used to always refer, for years I said I was a scientist. And then my friends would correct me all the time and go, oh, no, you're still the scientist. And, and then you realize you just take it all with you. It's not like, I said to somebody the other day, it's not like you amputate that part of yourself out. Like there's not, you can't, it's just part of who you are and you just move on from there. You kind of take it in, it becomes a part of you. It influences you in some way, the way you think, the way you act. But, maybe it's not the dominant thing that's at the forefront anymore. But it's always there as it should be, because You spent a lot, for many of us, we spent a lot of time in that space.
Well, the thing is, Jan, you were saying it shaped the way you think, because however many years you were, forgive me, I'm not quite sure exactly what field in science you were in.
I was in immunology and infectious disease.
Okay. So did you spend your time staring down microscopes?
Oh, yeah. Labs, tissues, blood, all that good stuff.
Ever been to Wuhan?
What?
Ever been to Wuhan?
Wuhan? No, have not been there.
How's your Chinese? Yeah.
Yeah. I would bring a friend of mine who speaks fluent Mandarin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that has colored your thinking.
That's right.
Because you think in a certain way. I mean, when I've been talking to authors and I'm saying, when did you start appreciating and loving writing? And they said, well, I enjoyed it through school, but then when I went to university, the joy got knocked out of me through academic writing. Yeah. When did you come out of the woods again and come back to the enjoying the creative stuff?
Right.
But yes, I mean, it does shape the way you think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the interesting thing in the Western culture, I can speak for people that I've coached, had working for me and with me, and all my professional career, is that there's always been this notion of having compartments in your life of who you are under different circumstances. There's the church bill. There's the professional volunteer lion bill. There's the corporate middle management bill. There's the business owner bill. There's the leader of community endeavors, and revitalization bill. And all of those things, if you stop and think about it, at the end of the day, if you manage your life in terms of being locked in and locked out of things in different circumstances, the things you can't say in church, but that are fully available to you in the workplace, it becomes disintegrated. And no human being can actually pull that off. It's a myth, when people say this is how I conduct myself, so that when I go away on the weekends, I don't think about work at all. And you and I both know it's nonsense. You think about the things that are foremost in your mind, and unless you're really disciplined, you don't get a vote on it. This is what's going to be there. So a lot of life and enjoyment and empowerment comes from not only a decision to work on integration, to where you've actually got this whole thing lined up, and everywhere you go, you're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
You handle a question exactly the same way. And when people are interested in figuring out how to be genuine and authentic, I tell them that you're so far away from the end zone, I don't know if I can help you. I mean, and I say, ask me the question you just asked me again. Can you coach me, Bill, to be more genuine and authentic? And I said, well, if you can show me a way to be a little more pregnant, I might be able to give you a hand with that. Or maybe a little less pregnant, because that would be inconvenient at times. I don't know. And so I more or less leave them with that thought for a minute or two, so till they can start to, put the Chinese finger, whatever they call them, things on. The harder you pull, trying to figure out what the hell's Bill talking about. But the whole point of it is that while you're trying to absorb into the world size that you have right now something that's much greater than that, it doesn't fit.
No.
So you have to willingly, every single day, be willing to break up everything in your life and what you think you know about each other, and be able to turn it into a joke that you're constantly getting the punchline for. And that makes a world of breakdowns, like all the things you had to go through in order to be sitting here talking to us today. And we genuinely appreciate that you did all of those things, and that you're legal.
Yes. Yes, I am legal. That's fun, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the other thing that happens, but the other thing that happens, Bill, from people having that very much like almost like trying to compartmentalize too much, is when you talk to people, if everybody says, oh, I never think about work on the weekends, when you do, you start to think there's something wrong with you. You start to get this feeling like, why am I different than everybody else? Why do I spend all my weekend thinking about work when everybody else says they don't think about work? And so we start to go through this whole comparison kind of scenario in our head of what we consider normal, and we get this feeling of like, oh my gosh, like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with me because, I do think about work, or I go to work and I think about my kids,
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Or whatever it is. And I think that whole compartmentalization has people thinking that it's like almost like people are robots, like they're not human beings. And that they're supposed to divide themselves into multiple pieces and go out in the world and function as that kind of like divided person. Like, this is the part of me that goes to work and I've left everything else at home.
And that's where you have the disintegration that you were talking about, Bill, isn't it? Because we feel as though we can't be a whole person in any one situation.
That's right.
The other neat thing about that too, Jan, that I heard you say, there's the shoulds that come into it. And when you start BSing yourself about, I'm not thinking about work, that's that is the primal inauthenticity that needs to be handled. When you're good enough and you're smart enough and people just plain like you, no matter where you are, when you can handle your life like that and you're cool with everything that happens, it makes it a lot easier, to just keep things flowing, because whatever you put out there, you can always take it back, change it, upgrade it. So the wrong thing in the world is to ever be thinking about what you look like or what you're thinking about. If you're interested in growth, if you're interested in maintaining where you are right now, clinging to that dearly, I first of all want to wish you good luck with that. And at the same time, I also want you to, to consider that what you have to change and exchange for is what's unknown to you now, but that's where the spice of life is. That's where, growth and wonder and, meeting Wendy, and all this neat thing, these things that we do every single week that we take for granted. I looked forward, to this podcast call today so that I could spend time with both of you wonderful ladies. And, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of odd that way, but I like to have cookies in my life. I like to get rewarded for taking chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Bill, I didn't know you from Adam. Jan and I have known each other for a while. I wouldn't say well, hence the fact that, apologies, I didn't know what branch of science you were from. I knew you had an MSc and that you'd been to London University grad school and whatever. But Bill, I know absolutely nothing about you, sir, other than that you sport a wonderful beard.
Thank you.
How long have you taken to grow that?
Actually, this is a COVID beard. I was clean shaven. Yeah, in the beginning of 2020, I was clean shaven, and my daughter's husbands started growing beards around May or June, and so we were on a call. We had family calls during COVID because we really couldn't go see each other. And number two daughter said, "Hey, Dad, I think you ought to grow a beard." And I said, "Well, honey, I've only grown a beard one other time in my life." And she goes, "I know." And I said, she's 40 years old at the time now. And she said, "I know who asked you to grow that beard." She said, "I did when I was 4. And I had a little beard. It was a very cute little beard. It probably got about this long and that's it, and stopped growing. And every place we went, people would go, "Why do you have a beard, Bill? Why are you hiding that handsome face of yours?" Or whatever they said. And Becky would say, "Because I want you to."
Love it.
So we did it again.
You know you can get beard lights, don't you?
What the what?
Beard lights for
Say
Christmas.
some more. So red, green, blue, purple.
And flashy ones at that.
I got to go right now. I'm jumping on Amazon.
Because I've seen some people who have plaited their beards, and dyed them. I don't know if you know Billy Connolly when it comes to wonderful Scots.
Yeah, so I have I consider people from the UK not quite right. Okay.
Oh, yes, they're completely batty.
Yeah, Ian Anderson, the whole Jethro Tull, and I've got a good friend over there who is a Facebook friend for about 20 years. I mean, not quite, because I don't think I've been on Facebook since maybe 2008, but he's had his beard about this long, and it's been pink and green and blue, and he just shows up on Facebook with these new pictures of himself, and I go, "You are one wacky dude," and he says, "Yeah, I think great."
Well, seriously, have a fight. Go and look and see if you can find some beard lights, because particularly at the moment, the festive period.
When my wife comes home, I'll say it's because Wendy told me to.
And she'll say, "You've got a brain between your ears. You could easily have said no."
That's
She's the most awesome thing on the planet, and I'll tell you what, she would never have a problem with anything that I did that was moral, legal, and ethical that somebody else asked me to do, especially a friend. So she gets the joke immediately.
Great. So, Bill, apart from the fact that you've dropped in a couple of things about you were in the church, I know nothing about you, so give me a quick potted history.
So yeah, how do I?
Me audience, I know you know this already, but I don't.
Well, I have a feeling that Jan may not know everything. If she did, she might not hang out with me at all. So no. I think the point is that I started my business in 1989. After working for a variety of manufacturing companies in 4 or 5 different industries, by the time I was 30, and so I met my wife at a dorm party in 1974. I've got 2 girls. One of them is married to a part Navajo Indian, and they have two beautiful boys, grandsons, Lincoln and Jackson. I actually married them on the reservation in 2008. We had 2 wedding ceremonies, and one of them was a traditional Navajo ceremony, which rarely happens, except for it was very important to my daughter to do so. My other daughter is married to a paraplegic man who was shot when he was 18 years old from Brooklyn, New York, in a altercation gone wrong at the time of the apex of his life. He was being scouted for basketball scholarships from 3 or 4 major universities. Really a good guy in City League, and did a great lot. Both my sons are. I just call them sons. I don't call them sons-in-law. They are both very intelligent men. They're great husbands. Ty's a great father, and they have marvelous careers. When I met them, neither one of them had gone to college yet, so they got a lot of encouragement from me to do all that stuff, and they both did, and wound up taking their degrees and then going to work hard. What else do you want to know about me? I mentioned church. Yes, my wife and I we stayed away from church probably for the first 12, 13 years of our marriage, because neither one of us was all that into organized religion. Janet, this is a little known fact, Jan. So Jan managed to go to a congregational church until she was 17 years old, and never actually went to a single a function upstairs in the church. She taught Bible school through that whole period of time, and that was her way. So long story short, we went to a marriage encounter, and then we came out and we went shopping for a church. We found a place that had some people we hadn't seen for a while. They had kids. We were good friends. And then now we fast forward, as is the thing. I don't know what your faith is, but in the UK, traditionally, if you're not Catholic, then you're going to be Episcopalian, and you'll probably be Anglican because that's just how it's done over there. So the Anglicans are a little different over here, and they're kind of the high church compared to regular Episcopalians. So we got on vestry. My wife wound up being in charge of Altar Guild, and we did all that for 15 years. Got burned out at it, and then we don't go to church anymore. We still believe in the higher power, and we pull out the Book of Common Prayer regularly and go through the rituals and just enjoy each other's company while doing so. What else do you want to know? I'll wait for your.
You've got it. Are you still in business? You mentioned you had a business.
Yes, I still am. It's in kind of a holding pattern at the moment. I basically am not doing much to grow it, but I have a nice little residual income from monthly customers. At the moment, we've transitioned from network support, putting in firewalls and threat management for people who use the internet. All that is on the in the cloud now. So we not only do computer networking in the cloud, but we also do telephones, and it's magic.
Cool. Thank you for enlightening me. As I said, didn't know you from Atom not an hour ago.
Now you know a little bit more, and if you retain any of that, I'll buy you dinner.
Oh, but have I got to come to New York for it?
Not necessarily. We could go anywhere you want.
Ooh.
I've got some new friends in South Africa. I don't know if you're Johannesburg bound at any point.
I haven't got Joburg on my list of places to go. There are various other places in Africa I would love to go and see. I've got somebody I know who stays in Kenya, whose parents are in Kenya. I've got friends in Mauritius. But at the moment, I'm heading back to Kuala Lumpur at the end of January.
Wow, good for you. So guess what we did?
Tell me.
We talked and we talked and we talked, and now we're out of talking time.
We are, aren't we? What a shame.
Yeah. So all I can say is it's been wonderful and magical. And would you be willing to do it again?
I would. Thank you.
Yeah, so
I will be on this time zone, as I said, until the 27th of January. Thereafter, I will be 14 hours ahead of where I am at the moment. So 13 hours ahead of you in Eastern.
I'll tell you what we're going to do then. We're going to wrap up here, but we're not going to say goodbye to you until we've got, a way forward to do the second installment with our lovely Wendy Corner, Lighting the Candle, A World That Works podcast. So, Jan, would you like to say anything to sort of wrap up here?
No, I guess it would be like to have interesting conversations with people. Like we didn't have an objective when we got on, and we just had a really fun, interesting conversation, and not only learned a little bit about each other, but talked a little bit about things that are important. So, get out there and talk to people.
You never know who you're going to end up speaking to.
That's right.
Exactly. And Wendy, you did something that I'm not generally all that interested in talking about me. So there were probably some highlights and lowlights that I could let you know about at another time. But my point is that it's been delightful and it's been wonderful to spend time with you. And anything else you'd like to say about your experience here, or any thoughts for people at home?
I would love to be able to access this for myself from the recording, because you're recording, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, excellent.
We will definitely let you know where it is. It's going to be on 17 different platforms.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. I don't think I can manage 17 all at once.
It's the same thing on 17 platforms.
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
So, Jan, with Velocity, would you like to entreat our listeners, with our weekly gift?
Yes. So we always close by requesting people, to contact someone who you really value in your life and let them know how important they are to you. And that could be through a text, a call, any sort of messaging, but just let the people you know that are in your life that they value, that you know they're important and that they're of value and that they matter. And if for some reason that you are not feeling like that for yourself, then reach out to someone, because I'm sure that there are people like, you know, there are plenty of people out there who really do genuinely care.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Ladies, thank you very much. It's a pleasure hanging out with you, and thanks for hanging out with the old guy with the beard. We are lighting the candle. Yeah, we are lighting the candle, a world that works, and everyone have a joyous holiday, please.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, a World That Works, part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can catch every episode of Lighting the Candle, as well as the rest of the network, at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.